what Black Lives Matter means to me is a call to action, change. Um,
OICs of America. The Reverend Dr. Leon Howard Sullivan was the founder of the program. He even wrote a book about it called Build, Brother, Build.
you're
Speak truth,
surrounded.
brother. Okay, you know you're
Yeah, I'm
surrounded, but
against it.
what does that mean?
Sometimes blacks don't want you to win.
For those that are ready, let's begin the conversation. The main burning topics that I had, and I really wanted to get some insight from a whole cross spectrum of people from different educational levels, different work positions, from the executives at the very top down to the people in the streets, and then the people in between, different cross-generational and experiences. So, you're one of the brothers that I tapped, that I just want to, you're representing that, in my mind, that millennial group, as
Gotcha.
one of those individuals representing that. And I just wanted to kind of fill you out, just to say, I know what it means to me, but I need to know I have some burning questions with regards to what this time we're going through right now means to people. And more specifically, what Black Lives Matters means to individuals out there. So I pose the question: what does
Cool.
Black Lives Matter mean to you?
Right now, a host of things, so many things that's going on a daily walk with just being young and black. And we try our best to want to do better and move forward. But what Black Lives Matter means to me is a call to action, change. Um, just want to be treated equally. Just want the justice system to do what's right. And right now it's not happening. And we, you know, I think with this change, sometimes you gotta fight, with force and like I want to be heard. It's not more I'm gonna be quiet in the back and I'm gonna write about it. Like no, I'm about to yell with my head cut off type situation. And saying, look, this is not right at all. No circumstances. All gloves are off. And that's what it means to me.
Okay, so what does that look like to you? So is the removal of Confederate symbols and statues, the removal of certain songs, companies are posting Black Lives Matter on the banners of their websites, and issuing
Hmm.
statements of support of Black Lives Matter, and we are going to fight racism, and wherever we see it within our organizations. Um,
Hmm.
uh, we're going to take down the statues. We're going to remove these songs. You can no longer have
Hmm.
the ice cream song playing on the ice cream truck. You could never have the song at
Hmm.
Splash Mountain anymore. And I'm going to put
Right.
Black Lives Matter up on the billboard, and I'm going to have some people kneel at a football game. Is that enough for you?
Right. No,
You know,
absolutely not. As I was talking earlier, I think it is a great gesture. I think it is a step in the right direction. Enough? No. We still have a long way to go, and it's gonna have to be everybody together. You know, um, definitely in this time now. Just doing these certain things and taking certain things down, adding it. And I know I was playing the game the other day, and it's on the game. Black Lives Matter, and it's on the courts and all that. And right now we at this place where we got the train going. Well, we ain't got to the end of the destination yet. What we would like to see is economic equality, and also real justice. Basically, that's the end of the tunnel type thing for me.
all right. So how do you, as a millennial, uh, see this playing out? So when you talk about economic justice, or equality, excuse me, and justice, but let's talk
Hmm.
about the economic piece. Um,
Hmm.
what do you see the outcome being? Let's say now that we got white America's woke, they've had their great
Right.
awakening. Now,
Okay.
all right, now you got them listening.
Gotcha.
What do you want? Can you answer the? I mean, I know you don't have. There is
Yeah,
no definite answer, but I need to know from your
right.
perspective what is it that you're looking for?
Right. As you allude to, it's not just one particular thing. As you said, I would want everything, but definitely with the economic thing, when it comes to applications, take off race on it. Right, what color I am on the application. Now, in some instances, it may benefit you if it's dealing with an institution or a college. They have to have a certain amount of people, to go to the institution. But dealing with credit and getting house loans and car loans, stuff like that. When they come and take stuff like that off, and it's equal across the board. That's for the economic piece for me.
All right, we removed the word race from, or the
Mm-hmm.
question about race from applications, and they don't track that demographic information in the application process. But
Mm-hmm.
I use the example of a gentleman that I work with, and his first name was Jerome. He happened to
Yeah.
be a white guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't get a job offer. He changed his name to Joseph.
Right. That's crazy.
He gets a job.
You got one.
So,
Yeah.
so now you got the Raheems and Jamals, who can't, necessarily not talk about race, or it not be about race when that's their name coming in. When you got the Habibs, and it's not just the Black community, you have the Latin community, you got the Arab community, you got a lot of different communities that are judged. The Indians from India, they too are impacted by the name. When you can't say their long name, they've come to the country and had to have shortened their name, or become John Smith when they're naturalized,
Right.
just to be able to assimilate. So I'm asked, yes, I believe the removal of certain questions can give the illusion that the application process is fairer. Where I lean toward with regards to economic change is, why am I fighting for a job at your company? You know what? I want to build my own company. I want to be the boss.
True.
And what
that's
are we?
True.
To me,
are we ready to be the boss?
Well, that's and I'll tell you a little quick part of my background. One of the community-based programs in which I worked for before was called OICs of America, the letter OIC of America. And it stood for Opportunities Industrialization Center. And essentially what it was, the Reverend Dr. Leon Howard Sullivan was the founder of the program. And he is a minister out of Philadelphia. He's since passed and transitioned home. But when he started this program, he was working with other global leaders to try to pressure companies such as Coca-Cola and other major companies to hire people of color into positions of responsibility. And he even wrote a book about it called Build, Brother, Build. And when these companies such as Coca-Cola and other companies would not initially hire him, he really put the pressure of the community on him. Then he got them to relent a little bit and say, fine, we'll take in some of these young people of color and we'll give them opportunities. Dr. Sullivan said, wait a minute. Reverend Sullivan said, well, I don't want you to hire these guys into your factory. I don't want them to be street sweepers. I don't want them to be your janitors and your clerks. I want you to hire them into positions of responsibility. But when he did so, he finally got them to say yes. But guess what happened? The pool of individuals in which he had to put into those positions of responsibility did not have the skill set to do the job. They weren't trained and ready to do the work. So he created this school called Opportunities Industrialization Center, and it branched out across the United States eventually, where I actually happened to be a board member of the local chapter in New Jersey, in Paterson. and then eventually became a board member of the national organization OICs of America. There are OICs still in America. Matter of fact, there's an OIC in Wilson, North Carolina. And again, this is a program that most people don't even know about. But what they did was he started the training program in which he made people, not made, but he took individuals that were not necessarily seen as the valuable ones, and enrolled these individuals into these programs, and empowered them and educated them and gave them skill sets to make them competitive in the workforce. And so when you then take these individuals to those companies and say, here, now I got people who are ready. What is your excuse now? And to now we're back at that drawing board where these OICs are in place, and not a lot of people even know about OIC today.
No, yeah.
But the same problem exists today. So now we're saying, because my goal is, hey, I want to own a company. I don't want to necessarily be a cog in the wheel. Nothing wrong with being a cog in the wheel. If that's what your aspirations are, is to be the cog in the wheel, so be it. No shame, no guilt, no judgment.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if we want to have an impact in this world, we got to own something. We got to have our slice. We have to have control of our narrative to show and demonstrate that we are equal to anyone, not better, but equal to. But at the same time, we have to prepare ourselves and force our way into the mix. Education is power. And when I talk education, I want us to be careful, because I'm not always talking about formal letters are behind your name. You don't have to be the graduate degree summa, cum laude. I'm not looking for you to be, PhD doctor of theology. I'm not looking for you to have. Now, it's nice if you want to continue education and add an impact and be respected by that. I love it. I support it. My own wife is going out to her PhD, and I support her 110%. However, that's not everybody out there. Everybody out there can't have a pedigree, So, but I'm looking at
or choose to work towards that, So,
right,
it's true.
or that desire. But I believe even Silicon Valley and some of these major companies are starting to recognize that you don't necessarily need these multiple degrees or degrees at all. Elon Musk, who runs one of the largest, forward-thinking companies out there right now, he doesn't believe that people in which work for him must have, degrees in order to get the job done. But if they can come in there and do the work, he's willing to give them an opportunity. So, but I don't want to rely on Elon Musk. I don't want to rely on Jeff Bezos. I don't want to rely on Bill Gates. I don't want to rely on just them. All right, so let me flip the script just a little bit. I want to ask some questions about our own communities. Now that you're an adult, you have children of your own.
I do.
Right. And if you had an opportunity, if you came into a situation where you had the finances to make a decision, I want to go buy, and I'm not saying you don't, I don't know your financial situation, but if you had this, if you could say, hey, I could pick where I want to live, and you want to build a brand new house, and you have the means to do so, and you say, there's a neighborhood over here and a neighborhood over here. And I want to build my house. Now, this neighborhood over here is predominantly Black and brown. And this neighborhood over here is a diverse mix. You got a little bit of everybody over here. Which neighborhood do you choose? Group. So you're going with the diverse group.
The diverse.
Why would you go with a diverse group versus the people of Black and brown that look like you?
Sometimes I say you have to know your
Speak truth, brother. Okay, your surroundings. But what does that mean?
Sometimes Blacks don't want you to win. Your own kind. You can work damn near hard as you can, and they may steal from you. And I'm not saying that other races don't or whatnot, but your own people. And you try you hear sometimes you try so hard as to make it out the hood, to go live into the suburbs and where you think it's peaceful and quiet and people respect you and you have some home ownership like that. But to live, in the all black community, sometimes you be like, I don't want the nonsense. I don't want the, quote unquote ghetto-ness and, where they don't bring value to, your surroundings and stuff like that. That's just my take on it. Sometimes, you just don't deal with the mess. And our people, sometimes majority of the time it's always mess. And sometimes they have the crab in the bear mentality. They want to pull you down because they're not doing good. And they don't even want to strive to do better. So they think this is the best thing ever, this sliced bread. And it's not.
Right. And that's real. But at the same time, so if white America says the same thing about an all black neighborhood or a predominantly black and brown neighborhood, why are they labeled as racist? Because they believe that black people don't know how to act.
Okay. But mine is not coming with hatred. I don't want to kill my black brothers and sisters because where I live at. They want to kill. They want to, bring down the black individual. I don't want to go to the white neighborhood and tell them and say, well, because you're white, I want to harm each one. No.
All white people that are racist, do you believe each of them essentially want to harm black people?
I said no.
Right. No. So it's not a fair statement to say, well, it's a fair statement to say that not all racists want to harm.
Okay.
But in racism, they feel that they're better than, more entitled to. So it's fine that if you let the black people in that neighborhood be there by themselves, I don't want to have to deal with them. Let them be crabs in the barrel, tearing each other down. But it speaks volumes. And the reason I bring up the point about the neighborhoods and the school systems is because in addition to the white America having these preconceived ideas and notions about who we are and how we act, we too have those preconceived better than. Would you rather be this or that? So would you rather live in an all black neighborhood where you can be around your people and you can feel the beat of the street and say, when I look out there, I see people who look like me who own their homes. Because I never talked about the black and brown community, whether the people there own the homes or renters. I said, would you rather live in a black home, in a home that you built and you paid for, in a community that looked like you, black and brown, or in a mixed, diverse neighborhood with, a school system that was not necessarily favorable, and the one over here had a more favorable. And the reason I put it that way is because we naturally assume that a suburb that has more diversity in it is better and safer, because we have got it in our psyche that white people know how to act.
That's true, but the reason I made that is because it's an experience. I lived in the black neighborhood, and it was chaos, and it was stuff like that. And then you get you start doing better, and you move into different neighborhood, and you didn't have that.
Right. So let me ask you in this question, and this is something that I noted in New Jersey, in Paterson, where I'm from. If the stats are still the same back then, about 85% of the people who lived in the city of Paterson did not own their homes. They were renters. That is a high percentage. So you had homeowners, you had landlords and people who owned these homes throughout this. And Paterson is the third largest city in the state of New Jersey. So you got the third largest city in an entire state. And 85% of the people who live in that community don't own their homes. So we know that, from stats that people are treat their neighborhood significantly different when they own it
when they
versus when they rent.
gotcha.
That when you rent, you believe it's somebody else's property, and not to say all renters are
Do with
bad,
it.
because most renters are respectful. They understand they got a security deposit. They don't want to lose their security deposit. They just want to come in and treat the property similarly to they would treat their own. But they still don't have that 100% value in it, and saying, you know what, if something breaks, I'm just gonna call a landlord and fix it.
Because I'm not all. Yeah, I'm not all
You're
in.
You're not
Until
all
you
in.
buy a new car.
Right. So when you talk about those Black and brown communities, so now I naturally did not specify that the community in which was predominantly Black or brown. So go back into your scenario of the experience that you had.
Right.
The community in which you say that you've had this negative experience, was that a community of homeowners, or were there predominantly renters?
I would say probably half and half. I don't know.
You don't know
at that age.
Right.
At that age, I don't know. I was a kid. So.
Right. So my point is, if
right.
there are subdivisions that that are nearby and that are browner than others.
Of course. Right.
And I mean, you hear about some nonsense that happens, and I believe that happens in any and every community.
Of course.
But my wife and I had the same struggle when we were building our home. Where do we live? What part of the subdivision do we live in? I don't want to live near the front. I want to make sure that if you're driving past my home, you really need to have a reason to be back here.
Okay, that's a good thought.
We don't get through traffic. Like, there should be no through traffic in my community, in my neighborhood, down at the block. Now, we have people who live in the community that circle the block and do things, but I shouldn't have through traffic. You can't cut through my community to get to another major road. So we took all these things into account, and that's just smart thinking, I'm from an inner city where, you got to watch your back. I'm smart. I mean, I might be relaxed in the suburbs, but I ain't stupid.
So the question I would have to you, would you move back to Patterson?
Absolutely not. I mean, I love Patterson, and I tell everybody I love Patterson. Like I said, I would tattoo Patterson across my chest if if I had the opportunity. However, the only way that I could move back to Patterson if I could buy Patterson, if I could go in there and had the resources to come in there and say, you know what, I'm buying the town, and I'm going to rebuild this bad boy from the ground up, and then I'm gonna find ways to empower people to own the homes in which I bought. So I need you to become homeowners, because I think if we use the same scenario I talked about, renters versus homeowners. I always say the theory that, you got some of these cities that look trashy, there's trash on the ground, there's just stuff blowing around. Yeah. I always say it's a simple problem. If everybody went outside and picked up the trash in front of their own home or their own business, it would be clean.
I'm with you.
It's not complicated, right? I didn't say go pick up.
It's not hard at all.
I didn't say go pick up the trash in front of your neighbor's house.
Somebody else said, right. Get your own trash.
Pick up the trash, even if it trash blew in front of your house. Walk outside, pick the trash up in front of your own house. I had a friend, and one day this friend was walking out of the house and pulled a circular out of the mailbox. And, one of those advertisement circulars where you got coupons and all kind of furniture nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Took it after realizing that they didn't see anything that they needed or wanted in it, and threw it on the ground in front of the house. And I said, what the hell are you doing?
What?
Why would you just throw it on the ground? And they were like, oh, the landlord will clean it up.
That mentality, that's ridiculous.
But that's real.
And
I'm sitting there going, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. You got to live here. What's wrong with you? It's not my property. It's not my property. I don't own it.
Who thinks like that? That's crazy.
Go outside of your office one day. See how much
Okay.
trash you see in the ground. It come out of
Man.
cars.
Man,
People don't care because they don't own it.
that's true.
It's somebody else's problem.
The same emphasis when you get a rental car. The same how you treat from your car, you go on the trip.
Right.
You take the rental car, you use it and abuse it.
Right.
You know, you trying to find the cheapest gas to put in
Right.
the car.
Right.
But let
And-
be
and-
your car.
Right. Right. And that's and I'm saying that, you know, you don't that mentality, that renter's
Mhm.
mentality is real. But
Yeah.
when you start talking about how do you fix it from an economic standpoint, back to your original point that you think economics and building that wealth is important, you got to go back to ownership. We don't own anything. We're not running anything.
Mhm.
The more we are further along than our ancestors were, our forefathers.
Oh yeah. Oh
They
yeah.
have
Right,
they would be in heaven, in heavenly bliss, if they can see how far we have come. I guarantee you the Dr. Kings and the X and the Medgar Evers and the W.E. Du Bois and the Marcus Garveys and all these cats in the past, Rosa Parks, everyone would be elated. And when they look down upon us and say, hey, look how far my people have come. You know, they are no longer slaves. They have freedoms that we could never imagine. They all have the right to vote or do that.
Yeah.
You know, then they would still ready to do it. You know, is it still being suppressed? They would still be like, well, but they would say there's still a lot of work to be done.